Guys, welcome to my video. Today we're going to be discussing about Python list, and I already have my Python IDE open, and this is Python 3.8 as you can see, and we have a lot to cover, so let's jump right in. Okay, so first, a list is basically a collection. It's very similar to a array, if you know array from other languages. So in Python you can create a list like this. So you can basically put the list name on the list name as the variable name equals and list constructor. So this is one way to create a list, but mostly people just use square braces. So first, actually, let's just run this and see, and let's see what this variable contains. So as you can see, we just printed that the new list that we created, and it's got a square bracket, open and close square bracket, right? So that's how a list looks. So, and you can also create a list using square brackets like this. So instead of so let's actually create a string list. So a list of strings, I mean. So okay, here we go. So this is a list which only contains strings, and if we just run that, so you can see that, so now this variable is actually is of type list, and it contains this list. So we just have 1 2 3 in this list, and then we define the list using the square brackets, right? So let's keep moving. Now we can also have numbers in a list, right? So that's okay too. In fact, your list could also be containing values of various types. So let's say, so you have this mixed list, so where we have all kinds of values, like you have numbers, we have strings, we have a list itself. So this is a sort of like a nested list, and we also have a dictionary. So let's see if this works. Yep, so it printed, so the IDE did not throw any error, so this is okay. So a list could contain values of different types. Okay, all right, so now let's keep going. So now I am going to be creating a list called vegetables, right? Vegetables. So this list contains a bunch of vegetable names: potatoes, carrots, cauliflower, broccoli, and bell pepper, right? Now we already saw how to print this list, right? So this is how you print a list. There you go. Now you have, let's see actually how you can print. uh, let's say I want to print the value that's in this position, the first position of the list, right? So that we can achieve by specifying the index position within the square brackets like this, and we are printing that value, right? So in Python, actually index position starts with 0, so this is 0, this is position 1, this is position 2, this is position 3, position 4, right? So now what about if I wanted to print, let's say, the value from position 3? That's broccoli. It's correct. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. So we got that. So what if I wanted to print the last item in the list? So that would be vegetables, square brackets, -1, right? So the last item in the list is bell pepper. Let's see if we can print that. Okay, there you go. So -1 basically is the last item in the list, and this is -2, this is -3, -4, -5, right? So there's like, so if you go from left to right, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right to left, it's -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So let's try to print what is in the position -5. So potatoes. So that's correct actually. So now what if I printed, like, let's say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth item, so there is no fifth item in this list. So what if I try to retrieve the value from the fifth item? So that would be an error. So now this index is out of range, so it's basically, it doesn't exist, right? Okay, so okay, now let's move on to slicing an index. If you've seen my previous video on strings, I talked about slicing strings, and now we're going to talk about slicing lists. So okay, so now, okay, here we go. Let's say I want to print the values which are from position 0 to position 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. I want to print all these values, and that I would do by using this kind of slicing. So you put the list name, square brackets, and then 0 is the starting position, 3, I'm sorry, so 3 is actually exclusive, so this is going to print the values from 0, 1, 2, right? So 0 to 2, so because 3 is exclusive. So let's check that. So 0, 1, 2, right? All right, now we can also print values from, you don't always have to start from 0. So if I want to print the values from position 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that would be like that. So okay, so here again 4 is not included, so this number is exclusive, so this can trip you as it did for me. So so be careful about that when you're working with that list. So if I specified 5 over here, all right, now, okay, there you go. Now we got the answer for it, we got the result. So now, okay, so the next one is, oh, okay, so what if I don't specify anything after this colon, right? So, and in this case actually so in this case Python assumes that we want to print till the end of the list, till the last position. So that's it. So we started from 2 to 0, 1, 2, and it prints till the last position, bell pepper, right? Okay, now what if I don't specify even this number, right? So now it assumes that I want to print starting from position 0 till the last position, whatever it is. So right, just the same as printing the entire list. So I can, if I want to print from position 0 till, like, say position, say 0 1 2 3, right, and the last number is not included. So let's try to run this command. There you go. Right, that is so if I don't specify any number in this, uh, before the colon, that means actually it assumes position 0. So you got that, right? So now, moving on. So what if I specified -2 in, for the starting position, right, where I want to print from? So we know that the indexes, if we go from right to left, it's -1 -2. So I want to start from -2 till the last item in the list. So then you can see that it works, right? So okay, so now you can also have you can also specify a third number, uh, you know in within the brackets, within the square brackets. So let's say I want to start from position 0 and I want to print till, till 0 1 2 3 4. So I want to print the entire list, but I want to okay, let's just, like, for now, let's just put 1, right? So this is the same as printing the entire list, right? So or accessing the entire list, right? So this we have seen before. We don't need slicing for that. So what if I want every other item, not every item, so every other item from that list? So if I specify 2 here, then that would be, so now you can see that, uh, so this is the step count. So now we start here and then we jump, so we don't print the carrots, we jump to cauliflower, we print that, and jump to bell pepper, we print that. So that's the step. So it's a step or a stride, right? So that's that. And you don't need to, so if, we know that if we don't specify anything, it starts from the position 0. And here, if you don't specify anything, it prints till it takes the last position in the list. So, and this will again print the same result, right? So what if I said print every third element in the list? So then that would be like this. So start with, you can see that it's broccoli. So every third element in the list, so potatoes and broccoli. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so all right, now what if I specified a negative number in this third, like, right after the second colon, right? So then let's see. So this one actually prints the list in reverse order. So right, so now it prints bell pepper first, broccoli, cauliflower, and so on. So it prints the list in the reverse order. So that's how you access the list in reverse order. Okay, so now, all right, so let's see how you can concatenate two lists, right? So let's say you have another list called vegetable stew, and I want to join these two lists, right? I want to concatenate these two lists, right? So one way you can use that, right? So that basically, you can see, okay, let me run it. Yeah, so you can see that now our list is concatenated. So, and then even the order is preserved. You see, like, the first list, uh, this is the order in which we have the first list, and this is the order of values in the second list. So the order is preserved and then they are concatenated, right? Okay, so moving on. So now I am actually, so there's a lot of built-in functions like in Python that we can use to work with list, right? So if I want to, let's say, so if I want to see what kind of functions are available for, um, and you can do this for any data type. Yeah, so you can even do this for a string, but in this case, this vegetable is actually a list, right? So I want to see what kind of functions are available for me to use, right? So you can see that, so this gave a bunch of, so this gave a list, and there's a lot of underscore underscore functions. So for now, let's actually ignore that, and we'll try to use a couple of them later. Uh, but we're going to start looking at all these functions, the ones that don't begin with underscore underscore. So starting with, let's say, uh, so I'm just going to copy this for, for the sake of, so because we're not going to preserve this. So let's actually just copy this in here so we can just see what's in there, and we can even comment it out. You can use a hash for that. Now we're not going to use vegetables too for now, so let's actually comment that. Okay, now let's append an item, a new vegetable, to this vegetables list, right? I want to add cabbage to this list. So that's the first function, append, right? So, and of course we want to print, we want to print and see if that function indeed worked. So let's see. There you go. So now the original vegetables list did not have the cabbage. So now this one has, after appending this cabbage string, right? So now the list contains cabbage also. So, and what is, so we saw what is append. Let's see what is pop, right? So, so if you understand this pop term, I think it comes from stack data structure. So let's see if it works the same way, right? So now you know that like the list contains cabbage, right? So if I popped, it will pop the last item in the list, right? So there you go. Now it popped, and then the last item. Oh, okay. So the problem is, okay, so let's actually put the append back. So what happened was we redefined the vegetables list, so it popped the bell pepper. So anyway, so let's append cabbage and then we immediately pop it. Let's run it again, right? So now you can see that the cabbage was added by this append function, right? So this yeah, this append function. So if I haven't explained how to use these functions, you basically put the name of the list and then dot and then followed by these functions, right? All right, so okay, let's move on to the next one. So this pop removes the last element in the list, right? So what if I want to remove an element that's in the middle of the list actually? So like let's say carrots, so I want to remove this carrots from the list, carrot string from the list. So let's say, there you go. So that is remove function, right? So right here, remove function, that's carrots. So carrots is removed from the list. Now, okay, so we already saw how to like join two lists, right? So we use the plus operator for that. Another way of doing it, like if I want to just, let's say I have two lists, right? Vegetables two, and I want to just add this list onto this list, right? The add vegetables to into vegetables. So I'm extending the vegetables list. So that's the extend function, right? So let's try doing that. There you go. So that's the original list that stops with bell pepper, and the second list is sweet potatoes, green beans, and eggplant. So that one's the second list, and that's extended. So we just extended the original list, right? So that's the extend function. And now uh, let's do an insert. So insert right here, right? So we did append, which added the value, the item, to the last position, right? So that's appending. Now using insert, we can insert uh, this item to any position that you want actually. So now I want to insert it in the first position, right, uh, of this vegetables list. So I want to insert the spinach in the first position. So let's see if that works. Yes, so the original one did not have spinach. Now when I printed vegetables after insert, now we see spinach in the position 0, which is the first position, right? That's insert. Now okay, so uh, now actually let's see actually this, so what if I want to sort the elements in my list, right? I want to sort. So we have sort and we have reverse and all that. So let's look at the sort, right? So let's sort this vegetables list, right? You can see now it's sorted in alphabetical order, right? So the B's first and C then P, right? So that sorted the list in alphabetical order. So now what if I wanted to sort this time in descending order? So then we just add one uh, sort of like an argument to this sort, so one option. So then we, let's see if that works. So you can see that now that's sorted the items in descending order. So P first, then C, then P, right? So now, okay, so the thing with this sort function is that it basically sorts the elements in place, right? So it changes the list order itself, the order of elements in the list. It changes that the order in place. So what if I don't want to change the order, right? So the original list looks like this. I don't want to modify that list, but I want to sort it and then let's say assign that list to another list, right? So let's say, so I use a different function called sorted, right? I know this is not in there, so this is so you can, the difference here is that I'm not doing a list name dot, right? I'm doing a sorted and then in parenthesis the list, right? And then I'm assigning the output of that to another list. So and let me print this guy, and in fact, so let me print both, right? So that way, so now you can see that the vegetables list is sorted, right, and then assigned to this other variable. sorted vegetables. So let if I when I printed vegetables, I printed the original list, and when I printed the sorted vegetables, so it printed the same list except that now it's all sorted. The elements are sorted now, right? So you can do that. Mm, so okay, so now what if I want to know the position of a certain item in the list, right? So let's actually do that. So I want to use the index function, right? It's a predefined function. All these are predefined built-in functions. So if I just use index function, and then I want to find out, because remember we added green beans, right? So anyway, that might not. So okay, let's actually try to find the index position of carrots, because the position of carrot, like as we know, uh, the element carrot, the string, is 1, position 1, so this should return 1. So let's let's try that command. So yeah, so the output is 1, right? And then so the next one is sort of like a caveat actually, right? So now when let's say I want to make a copy of this list, right? So we have the list called vegetables, and then I am actually just assigning this list to another variable name, right? So this is, if I printed vegetables 3, it prints basically the same, the values from that original list, right? And now let's try to actually remove an item from this new list, this vegetables 3 list, right? Let's say I remove potatoes from this vegetables 3 list, because we know the vegetable 3 list contains potatoes, right? So I'm going to remove it, and and let me run it, right? So this is all fine. So we have removed the potatoes, and we saw a remove function before, so this is okay, we understand this. But let me print the original list now, right? So let me print the original list. So the first line is basically the we copied the vegetables list into this new variable, right? We just copied that, we made a copy of that, and then we printed the vegetables list, so that makes sense, right? That just looks like our original list. And then we removed potatoes from it, right, from the vegetables 3 list, and that we printed that now. And then we print the original list itself, which is vegetables, and then you can see the potatoes is also removed from the original list. So so when you're referencing a list, when you're assigning a list to another variable, so both the variables are now referencing the same list, right? uh, and you can understand this if I use this function called id, and if I printed the memory address of both these lists actually. So if I printed the memory address of both these lists, right? So let's try that. Okay, so I need to print go. So you can see that like they both are pointing to the same memory address, right? So basically what it means is, by doing this, by assigning a list to another list variable, we are just creating another pointer to the same memory location. So we're referencing the same memory location. So you cannot copy a list like this. So if you cannot do this, how can you do it? How can you copy a list into another variable without referencing the same original list, right? So you can see that you can use this function, copy function, right here. So if I did this, and in fact if I use the copy function and then created this list, right, and then now again I'm going to print the memory location of these two lists, right? So you can see that now vegetables is in one memory location, and that location is different from vegetables 3 location, right? So id is the function that you can use to see the memory address of of your data structures, right? So okay, now if I try to, let's say, remove, um, let me try to remove, let's say, potatoes, right? But if I try to remove potatoes from vegetables and print the vegetables 3, I'm trying to remove the potatoes from vegetables 3 list, and I'm also going to print the original list now, right? So this one is basically okay. Right now you can see that we're copying the vegetables into vegetables 3, and then we're printing it, and we are removing potatoes, and then we're printing the vegetables 3. So now potatoes is gone from this list, and finally we're printing the original list, which is preserved, because now we didn't actually assign it the way we did before. We used the copy function to make a duplicate of that list, right? So that is something to remember. That's a caveat. Okay, so now moving on. So let's say I want to count, like, let's say, uh, potatoes, like how many times this potato string appears in the list. Let's count. So that's only one, because each item is appearing only one time in the list. So let me just add potatoes one more time, just to see if this function works correctly. So now you can see this. So this count function, this count right here, basically return 2. So the number of times potatoes appearing in the list is 2, right? So that seems to work. Apart from that, there's a few other functions that you can use. Let's actually take a look at that. So I'm going to create a new list for this purpose called a number list. Right, a number list, and uh, and I want to, let's say, check the length of this list, right? So then now I use a length function, just like the way I use the sorted, right? I use the length function, right? len length function, and let's print the length of the list 5. There's 5 items in this list. It's just the numbers list with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. That's 5 items. So that's length. And there is a min function which prints, which provides you, or basically gives you the minimum element in the list, right? So Now that's 10, we know that. So there's a max function that basically prints the maximum number in the list, right? So it's 50, the maximum element, right? So those are a couple of functions that might be useful to you. And what else? So there's a couple of more things. So real quick, so you can use in and not in to check whether a list contains a particular item. So you can see, like, I'm checking whether 10 is in this numbers list, and this basically gives you a boolean value. Like, if it's true, it's going to give you true. If it's false, it's going to give you false. And then there's another print statement here where I'm checking 11, whether 11 is not in this list. So if 11 is not in this list, it's going to give me a true boolean value, right? So there you go. So